The Josiah Manifesto is, I believe, the most important thing I could share. It's a mystery that is so big, it encompasses everything. Even mysteries that I've written about in the past that are now coming home all together. They're all converging. This is the reality of God, the mystery, the stunning mysteries behind our world, what's happened in recent times that have changed our lives, the hand of the God of the Bible. And it's all going to come together like a prophetic symphony that's going to open up a key that's going to give us an answer and a guide and a blueprint for what we need to know to live in the days ahead, what's coming, and how we are to live for this hour and in the end times. It begins on the island of Cuba. And there, at the end of my time there, I gave an object and a message, a prophetic object, a prophetic message to Fidel Castro. And it would end up giving the revelation of exactly how much longer he had to reign. I mean, down to the year, to the day, and to the exact hour. And that opens up the mystery of the Jubilee that begins in Leviticus 25. And that mystery actually gives the countdown, which tells us exactly when the plague of COVID-19 came to America. 50 years to the exact date. It's linked to the time that we began offering up our children. The Bible says if you harm your children, it's going to come back to you. Judgment's coming. The prophet Jeremiah said it's going to come. It's an absolute rule. Well, 50 years from when we began offering up our children, the plague comes to America. Not just to the year, but the exact dates, the exact days, day to day, the entrance of the plague, the falling of the plague, the exact dates. It's stunning and it's real. And it shows the amazing hand of God and the truth of the Bible. One of the mysteries I open up in the Josiah Manifesto is that of Jehu and the temple of Baal. And this is actually the mystery that lies behind Donald Trump. And it lies behind the events. It actually lies behind what happened on Capitol Hill on January 6th. You know, the Congress has been investigating this for hours and hours and days, endlessly. And yet the answer is actually in the Bible. It fulfills this pattern, this paradigm amazingly. And this actually came true after I first spoke of this mystery. Now there's something else I speak about called the Jubilean redemption. And that is that the overturning of Roe v. Wade didn't just happen. It was part of a mystery that was in the works for not only 50 years, but from ancient times. And we'll see also how the dates are exact. 50 years to the exact day. That goes again and again and again. One of the dates in the Bible is called Adar 13, the day of the evil decree. Well, we're going to see that that date actually identifies the evil decree of America with an event that happened. There's another date called Sivan 23 from the Bible that actually identifies the actual case that would overturn abortion. Now, one of the mysteries I speak about in the Josiah Manifesto is the mystery of days. And that is a stunning thing. And that is that the shakings of America, behind the shakings of America, are actually the appointed holy days of God. It goes back to Mount Sinai. It goes back to Leviticus 23. But behind every shaking, for example, behind the shaking of the plague, the pandemic that came on America, is an ancient Hebrew holy day that identified the very time of the plague, the time of the lockdown, and the peak of the plague as it entered America. But then there's another ancient festival that has to do with breath and fire. And it actually identified the next shaking of America when riots spread across the country, when the cities were in a flame. It all goes back. And then there's an ancient holy day that's about the heavenly court and the judgment of God. And that date was actually behind what happened at the Supreme Court that altered the Supreme Court and opened the door for the changing of American history. It all began on the exact day. Each of these began on the exact day that God appointed in the book of Leviticus. All these mysteries coming together, and you actually see how it changed the course of America, the hour, the minute, and the exact split second. Now, there's something else I open up in the Josiah Manifesto called the Phineas factor. And that is a mystery that has to do with when the plague was at one of its peaks and all of a sudden it plunged and began to disappear. Well, it didn't just happen. It goes back to a principle and a revelation that is found in the Torah. It has to do with the Phineas factor, and it's amazing and it's precise. There's something else I open up in the Josiah Manifesto called the Day of Broken Curses. There's a day in the Bible that is appointed to break the curse. And actually on that day, the course of America was altered. In the book, I share a vision that actually was given to me when I was beginning to write The Return of the Gods. And it actually came true on the very day that I finished The Return of the Gods, and it has to do with the broken altar. This is a key. All these things converge with a biblical sign of the broken altar. And that sign not only tells us where we are, but where we are heading. It has to do with the judgment of a nation. It has to do with the fall of a nation, but it also has to do with the last chance given to a nation. It has to do with the potential of revival. And all these things point to what I call the Josiah moment. And this goes back to the ancient king that actually holds the key about where we are and what we need to do, what you need to do. This is why the book is called the Josiah Manifesto, because it's a blueprint from God that all these things open up and point to about the answer. What do we do? How do we live? What are the keys we need to know to survive now and in the days ahead and what's coming and the end times? That's why the Josiah Manifesto is called the ancient mystery and guide for the end times. I mean, it's literally every part of our life. And then I get into the last mystery. So these are things I can't get into here, but it is so crucial that I knew I had to write this book for such a time as this. And the last mystery has to do with something that happened, a prophetic event and moment that really opens up the key to the end times. And especially for believers, because the end times are not just darkness, it's also light. And it's not just the power of evil, it's the power of good. And we have to live in that power. And how do we do that? How do we live victoriously now when everything's going on? How do we live the way God called us to live for this hour, for the last days? Because God doesn't want us fearing, He wants us to prevail. And there's a secret and there's a key to this that is opened up at the very end of the revelation. And this is to give you a little taste of what you're going to find and what's going to be revealed in the Josiah Manifesto.
Call to get Rabbi Jonathan Cahn's brand new revelatory book, The Josiah Manifesto, plus his exclusive 8-part DVD video series, The Josiah Manifesto Uncensored. After delivering 7 explosive New York Times bestsellers, Rabbi Jonathan Cahn unveils his latest book alongside his exclusive 8-part DVD video series. Building on the impact of his previous hits, this new release introduces something special: the blueprint, the answer, the manifesto.
The Josiah Manifesto opens up the stunning mysteries that lie behind the dramatic events of recent times that have changed our world and the message hidden within them with regard to the future.
Could these mysteries go all the way back to ancient times, to the biblical feasts in ancient Israel, to a broken altar, to the destruction of a pagan temple, to the reign of King Josiah? Through this book and exclusive 8-part DVD video series, you will be taken on a prophetic journey from a Caribbean island to Washington, D.C., to the ancient valley of Hinnom, to the Supreme Court, to a desert mountain, to an ancient Middle East temple, to the gates of America, to uncover an ancient puzzle that lies behind the events that have altered our lives. What are these mysteries, and what exactly do they have to do with us? Is it possible that they are impacting the modern world and specifically America? Did they forewarn of a catastrophic event that shook America and the modern world? Was an altar to an ancient god actually built on the streets of Washington, D.C.? What is the mystery of days? The return, the Josiah moment. Who is the child of the Nile? The modern Jehu. And where is this heading?
All these things converge with a biblical sign of the broken altar. And that sign not only tells us where we are, but where we are heading. And all these things point to what I call the Josiah moment. And this goes back to the ancient king that actually holds the key about where we are and what we need to do, what you need to do now and in the days ahead and what's coming and the end times. That's why it is so crucial that I knew I had to write this book for such a time as this. The end times are not just darkness, it's also light. And it's not just the power of evil, it's the power of good. And we have to live in that power. And how do we do that? How do we live victoriously now when everything's going on? How do we live the way God called us to live for this hour, for the last days. Because God doesn't want us fearing. He wants us to prevail. And there's a secret and there's a key to this that is opened up at the very end of the Revelation. I believe it's a blueprint from God that really opens up the key to the end times in the Josiah Manifesto.
Don't miss out on this. Call or go online to get Rabbi Jonathan Cahn's exclusive offer, which includes his brand new revelatory book, The Josiah Manifesto, plus his exclusive 8-part DVD video series, The Josiah Manifesto Uncensored. It includes the full revelation. You can't get this anywhere else. Yours for a donation of $59. Shipping and handling is included. Ask for offer number 9951 or log on to sidroth.org. Call or write today.